everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys my experience of how I got Elizabeth to sleep through the night. Now if you're a new mom or you're just kind of exploring this whole sleep training trend and how it works, then definitely keep watching. I post new videos every week. I'm a mom to a 1-year-old and I have a husband named Richard and I live in Canada, so that's like a little small glimpse of who I am. But if you like these types of videos, definitely hit the subscribe button. I post new videos every week, and yeah, let's get started. Alrighty, so let's talk about the beginning of Elizabeth's life journey. So she was born in May of 2018, and I feel like it didn't take her too long to start adjusting and sleeping more at night and getting on that kind of like normal routine, if that makes any sense. I would breastfeed her, go to bed, and my husband would give her a bottle. And she was going to bed at like midnight, 1 a.m. and then it started being 10, 11, and then before you know it, she was actually going to bed at a decent time. For a while she was going to bed at 9 p.m. and that seemed to be the norm of her sleep schedule, and I wanted her to start going to bed earlier so that when I went back to work it wasn't a huge adjustment. I wouldn't have to wake her up or my husband wouldn't have to bring her in to work. So she started doing really well at night. Nap time during the day though was an issue. I feel like the only way I could get her to sleep was if she slept on me or somebody, and we tried to, there'd be days where we would try to put her in her crib and she'd wake up and we'd be like, okay, we'll try again later, because she would not fall back asleep in your arms. It would be like 20 minutes later. It'd be crazy. Like it was like she was done her nap for the day and that was that. And it got to the point where she wasn't sleeping for days, and I thought enough is enough. I'm just going to let her sleep on me or breastfeeding or from breastfeeding or in like my sleep sack, or not my sleep sack but like a little backpack. Whatever I had to do to get her to sleep. If she fell asleep in the car, I left her in the car seat. Obviously I brought her in the house. But I just did whatever I could to get her to nap. And then finally, she started sleeping better at nighttime. However, she started sleeping horribly at night. And that happened at about 7.5 months old, which she had sleep regressed before, but this was like not going away. And it was like getting to the point where she was getting up every half an hour. It did eventually turn into 1 hour and every few hours. But before it was like she'd get up once, maybe twice, and at this point now she was getting up like every 2 hours. That was like a good night. And so we decided to start sleep training at about 8 months old, and that was not going so well. Finally, after like 3 hours for a couple days, because it would be like midnight and she still would not be asleep, and I had been trying this for about 3 days, I gave up. I'm gonna be honest, I gave up and I said, nope, this is not worth it. I'm gonna let her fall asleep from breastfeeding or whatever I have to do to get her to sleep, and I don't care. And we did that for a little while, and then I tried something else. So we did the chiropractor for a little bit, as well as a weighted sleep sack, which is supposed to mimic your hand so that it feels like your hand is on their back, which I think might have worked when she was a little bit younger. But I feel like by the time I tried it like that she was like 10 months old, it was just like she was too smart for it, I feel like, and she knew. So at this point nothing was working and I was going to be going back to work. She was 11 months old and I was going back at the end of May, and it was the end of April. So I decided to try sleep training again, and I watched different videos on YouTube just to kind of see what everybody's experience was, how they did it. Maybe I was doing something wrong, and I decided to do it my way and try something a little bit different to see if it would work. So I started on a Friday, and at this way my husband could help me out as he was on night shift, so I could get some sleep and he could help me out. And I figured, you know what, if we're going to do the sleep training and she's going to cry for me anyways, she can cry for my husband. Now, in the past when she has woken up in the middle of the night, she will not do a good job for my husband. She will cry till she throws up, and I'm just not okay with that. I just don't want it to be a horrible experience for her, and I get it. I'm the one putting her to bed every day because he's on night shift, and so when it comes to the weekends she's just thrown off. Now if he puts her to bed at night, that's a totally different story. She's fine, not an issue if she gets to bed in the middle of the night, but if I put her to bed and it's the middle of the night, it kind of just throws her all off whack, and I just wasn't pumping enough and for him to give her a bottle every night. It was just too much for me. So that just wasn't working out. But I thought this time, with him being on night shift on the weekends, he could help out. So we started Friday, and I knew she was gonna cry. It was inevitable. But something I decided to do was put her to bed a little bit earlier, which I've seen in people's videos do this, so this isn't like a rare thing. So dinner was at 5. I would clean her up at 5:30. She could play for a little bit. I'd clean up her high chair, and then at about 5:45, I would bring her upstairs. Now this is when I would turn on her essential oils, or turn on her oil diffuser and put in some lavender essential oil. This is what my aromatherapist recommended, so that's what I did. So I would put that on, and I would change her diaper, put on her cream because she's eczema, put her in her pajamas, and just kind of let her know that now we're going to start winding down for the night and it's going to be time for bed. And after that was done, I would turn it off because my aromatherapist did recommend that you shouldn't diffuse or keep your diffuser on for longer than 15 minutes. And that's what I did. I would shut it off and we would head into the bedroom. Now at this point it's about 6 o'clock and I don't have a good rocking chair to breastfeed my daughter in. It's a good rocking chair. I had it when I was a little girl, but it's just a rocking chair. There's nothing fancy to it. There's nothing comfortable with it when it comes to breastfeeding, and so that's why I would go into the bedroom to breastfeed her. So after I was done breastfeeding her, she'd still be awake at this point, but at least she was in a relaxed state and wasn't, awake, kicking, excited, things like that. So I laid her in her crib and I made sure I turned her mobile on. I gave her soother, which she isn't a huge fan of, but it was there if she wanted it. And one of her stuffies that she seems to really like. Even if she doesn't like a stuffy, I'm sure you could try something. And I would tell her good night. I would also grab her laundry pail out because we do cloth diapers and her dirty laundry just in general, and make sure her blinds were closed as it is summertime here, or I guess you could technically say spring, so it's lighter out at nighttime, and I just wanted her room to be a little bit darker, and I would leave the room. Now she is known for getting upset and getting sick from crying too much, so I didn't leave her very long at first, which is what they do recommend. They recommend that you put them in, and wait a couple minutes, go check in on them, tell them everything's okay, leave, go back, and when you leave for the next time, do it a little bit longer. Go back, say everything's okay, relax, rub her back maybe for a few seconds, leave the room, do it a little bit longer, and go back, etc. So while I did that, I brushed my teeth. Now I tried to set a timer, but it was just not working out. I thought I was just staring at the timer. I tried reading, but I just felt like all I could hear her was being upset, and I couldn't enjoy reading my book. I couldn't focus. So I would brush my teeth, and that's kind of what worked for me, and I was able to get something done. So that's what I would do, and then I would check in on her, pick her up, bring her back to my bedroom, give her some hugs, rub her back a little bit, and just kind of relax her again, as she would be a little worked up. Not like too crazy, but obviously she would not be in a relaxed state. Now originally I had tried to do like the original sleep training method, where I would go back in, tell her everything's okay, give her a kiss, maybe lay her back down or not at all, and leave the room again. And I just found that got her even more upset, and I just didn't want this to be a negative experience. So instead I'd bring her to the room, we'd cuddle for a little bit, and kind of like let her catch her breath, I guess you could say, and then I would lay her back down and try for a little bit longer. So maybe this time I would wash my face and get in my pajamas and maybe load up the dishwasher. Then I'd go back, pick her up, go back to my room, calm her down, rub her back, etc., put her back down again, and maybe this time I might clean my bathroom, sweep the stairs, do cat litter, and I don't know, wipe down the counters. I would add on one more routine. And so by the end of the week, she wasn't crying. It was more of like a whine, and it would be on and off, and she was able, I would leave her in there for about an hour. It was about 30 to 45 minutes before I'd actually go in and get her. And so by Friday, she had been left in there for an hour with her mobile on, and oh my gosh, my cat, with her mobile on, and her soother and her stuffed animal, and she fell asleep on her own, which was like the biggest milestone. Now, people had told me after day 3 or 4, you'd be fine, but for me, it was day 8, and obviously I wasn't doing it how others do it, but I was doing, I feel like, the main point where you put him in a wake, you leave, you let him cry it out, I guess you could say. I mean, technically she was crying, but I would always go in there and pick her up. I feel like that was different than what some of the other sleep training videos I was watching here on YouTube, and that's what worked for us. By Saturday, she was only taking about 20 minutes before she fell asleep, and now she's within minutes. It's wonderful. And she's not sleeping through the night. She still gets up once about 2 or 3 a.m., but she's not up for very long. Well, I shouldn't say that. She could be, but I only take her for a little bit, and then I put her back in her crib, and she does not blush, she does not cry, nothing, and she goes back to sleep, and so do I. And I feel like I have my life back again. I know exactly when she's going to bed, and I just feel like my nights are way more productive now, and even my mornings, because I'm able to get up at an earlier time, whereas before I was sleeping as late as her because we'd be getting up so much throughout the night, and I knew once I got back to work that just couldn't happen anymore. Yeah, that is basically the process we did, or I did, to get her back to sleep, or to get her to sleep through the night, or sleep better in general. Like I said, it took us about 8 days before it was perfect, and I mean, even now it's still not perfect, but much better. So definitely try it out. Pick them up, cuddle with them if you feel like you can't just leave them in there and walk away, and let me know how it goes. If you've sleep trained your daughter or son, or you have other tips and tricks, definitely leave them down in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.